So we know this is the end of a long day, lots been covered, a lot of ideas, but we just wanted to wrap up a great first day with some experiences of ours of what's been working, what's not over the last few years, and where we're heading with our marketing and product development programs. So before we get started, I wanted to just kind of get a sense of the people in the room, where you guys are in terms of your marketing. So first, like in terms of marketing teams and sizes, how many here they are the marketing team? So one person marketing team. Great. How about 2 to 3 people in your marketing team? Okay, quite a few there. 4 to 7? Okay, quite a few there, about 20%. And then over 8 or more? Okay, a few larger organizations as well. So we run the gamut. In this room, how many of you still rely on traditional media like direct mail for more than half of your new customer revenue? Very few. So that's interesting. How about what percentage of the people here have a direct sales force doing telemarketing or consultative sales? Okay, probably about half. And I think like 3 years ago when we did a panel, it was like less than 10%. How many people here are using a CRM system like a Salesforce to capture all the information about their customers? That's probably about 80% or so, I'd say. And how many are using a marketing automation tool, lead generation tool like an Eloqua, Marketo, Pardot? Okay, about maybe 10 to 15%. So that kind of gives us a sense of a big range in the room, and even among the panel, quite a big range in terms of what we're doing. So to get us started, I thought we'd kind of go around among each of us and give a little overview about our businesses, the markets we serve, our product mix, and in a very high level about our main marketing thrusts. So maybe, David, would you start us off with BVR?
Sure, Ben. Just quickly, we have Director of Marketing, Director of Sales, 3 publishers, and they're increasingly tied together around the Salesforce platform, and we're investing a lot in expanding that. And I think as far as organizational structure, the major change that I think all of us are going through, we certainly are, is the fact that there's almost no decision anymore that doesn't involve the very close interaction of all of those parties, and trying to make that happen effectively and quickly and responsively is, sort of a thrill and a challenge. We publish for business appraisers, so it's a professional market, very small niche, about 6,500 people in North America. So that's BVR.
Right.
Hi, everybody. Jenny Fukumoto from Reagan Communications here. And Reagan Communications operates 4 big news sites. We have Reagan.com, PR Daily, Healthcare Communication, and HR Communication. So we have 4 very different audiences that we segment to. And we, back in the day, we published dozens of print newsletters, print pubs, for our corporate communicators. And over the past 5 to 10 years, we've slowly transitioned that business model to, we've been moving our print pubs online, and we've been moving our business to more training events. So we do live conferences, just like the one we're at today. We do a lot of virtual training, and we segment that according to our different audiences. So, that's Reagan in a nutshell.
Great. And Brittany?
So I'm with Columbia Books. We were traditionally a directory publisher, now very much more in the database space. We also more recently have gotten into a lot of research-based products and projects, and then we have a webinar training division. There's 2 people in our marketing department. We have 3 sales staff, a customer service person, and that's all kind of managed under the same group.
And I'm Wayne Cooper with Greenhaven Partners. We really operate 2 businesses right now. We have Vanguard Media, that's in the worker safety space. It was many years ago was mostly a poster and a newsletter business. Now we have a lot of web-based tools and products and training solutions for and software for people to run their safety program. And then our other business is Chief Executive Group, and we publish Chief Executive Magazine and do events and research and peer networks in the CEO space. So two very different markets. So I'd like to next ask each of the panelists, like, what has been working? Where are you guys getting some traction and having some success? So maybe, David, you can start us off again.
And you said, what has been working? You stumped me with that one. I think I would respond to that, having been to so many sessions today and heard so many great points, is that I think starting top down, what's working the best is that the organizational approach to trying to respond to this more complex environment is succeeding for us. And I've heard so many examples today at the various sessions where other people are making it work. I think that's something we've learned to do together as a group that's very empowering. And a very quick example of what I mean by that, just, is we're now in an environment where anytime anyone at BVR interacts with anyone in our marketplace, it could be a lead gen opportunity, it could be a sales opportunity, it could be a marketing opportunity, it could be a new product, it could be a partnership opportunity. So you suddenly got this situation where the 47 employees we have are effectively doing all of those jobs all the time. And the solution for that is, one, you need to have a technology infrastructure. That's off the table in my mind. You just can't do it anymore. But the ability to also train everyone so they're alert to, a customer service person says, wait a second, this call is not going the way I anticipated, but that person mentioned something about doing training. I should refer that to Blake, who did a good session earlier today. So being able to both strategically figure out how to institutionalize those oddball opportunities and turn them into lines of business under the publishers, that I think that's where the success is coming and the power is going, and I think where the leverage and improvement's going. And when I look at what we're planning on doing in 2014, it's all around improving that ability.
And given those radical changes in terms of process and technology, has that had a big impact on culture and the kind of people you need to hire?
I think we're also going through a business change that's typical of sort of a $5 million business going to be a $10 million business. We're a little bit under 10 million right now, just to put us in perspective. And very critically, that means that all of the decisions have to be made at sort of the senior manager level, or else you get stuck in kind of that, mom and pop, you guys have to do this because Lucretia and David said so, model, which just doesn't work when you need that kind of nimbleness and flexibility. So organizationally, and again, I go back to many of the sessions I've heard today. I heard lots of people talk about how they're doing this successfully in their own organizations. So I'm thinking about what we're doing in the context of what everybody else in this room is trying to do.
And Jenny, it sounds like Reagan is doing well and getting traction in a number of areas. Maybe you could describe some of the successes you guys are having and where you're getting traction.
How many of us in the room feel like we're often working harder and not smarter? Yes. So we have really, in the past 3 months, certainly, we have really started looking at analytics. We've put such a big emphasis on analytics because it's so easy to get bogged down in your day-to-day. Hey, that email promotion did great, so I don't really have time to create a new email promo. Let's just resend that and see what happens, right? How many of us have done that? Yes. And then you don't quite get the numbers you want, so you think, okay, well, maybe we'll just shelf that email promo and we'll do something new the next time. No, we're really starting to look at the analytics and really looking at what our customers are responding to and then making smarter decisions. So like I said, in the past 3 months, we have really ramped up that mentality. We're trying to take a step back and not feel like worker bees and, just trying to, stay afloat in the ocean that is publishing marketing. So we've really, like I said, we've really been focusing on analytics. Also, our digital marketing, we've been really, really working on segmenting. We've been segmenting by location. We've been putting up product ads on our websites and targeting specific locations. If we have a global conference, we will look at global IP addresses and specifically target those people. And we're seeing huge success, great ROI, sorry, buzzword, great ROI with that. So those are two things that we're really focusing on, and we're going to be focusing on in 2014 and to infinity and beyond.
Great. And Brittany, I know Columbia has had a lot of success with new product development, really transforming your product mix. Maybe you could tell us a little about what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Sure. So I talked about this in a session earlier today, but it's really been hugely successful for us. Is looking kind of inward at what we have on hand and then figuring out smart ways to utilize the data that we have. So being that we're a database company, looking at the contacts we have and the access that we have to these people in our databases, and then we've been doing a lot of creating customized research reports and surveys. We've been very successful doing it on the lobbying and government relations side. We came out with a huge report studying the behavior of congressional staffers. No one had done it because no one had the access or the brand to go in and do it, and we had that data, so we went and surveyed them, and nobody else was able to get that information. So it was great because it made us a legitimate player in the field, and we were also able to sell that information to people that couldn't get it otherwise. We did the same thing on the association side. We looked at our association database and said, let's survey these people and find out more about their compensation habits. And lo and behold, those same people that we surveyed, of course, want to buy that information. So really, a lot of the success we've had comes from data that we've always had on hand. We just, I think, was pretty underutilized for a long time. So looking at things from that perspective. And also with the salary survey, it's been an interesting experience because it's a pretty customized situation, but we've also realized that it's, now that we've gotten it down pat, we can replicate it and then sell that platform. So that's something we kind of never saw coming and was a product development accident, so to speak, but now we're able to provide that service to other associations so that they can then subsequently survey their members. So that's been interesting. So always just keeping an eye out for opportunities that you may not have initially seen coming your way.
Great. And I'd say at our businesses too, it's the first theme is segmentation. We used to do a lot of the same marketing to the same people, and we're being much more thoughtful about for large companies, medium-sized companies, and smaller companies, and by verticals oftentimes. What products are the best offers for those different people, rather than everybody getting every email or every brochure. We're trying to go in there and pick the best mix between product and potential customer. And I'd say the other thing that we've been working on the lead nurturing, scoring, sales program. I think what we found, we have it's probably a 25-step process, but one of the challenges here is any one of those 25 steps is broken and the whole thing doesn't work. And it could be the list size, or it could be any stage along the process. That if one of those isn't working well, the whole thing, the whole program isn't working. So we're getting much more specific and trying to develop some better metrics so we can see what our conversion is from step to step, to see where the problems are and diagnose them and brainstorm and try a few things. David?
I would say there's also a multiplier effect there on the positive side, because it's definitely true if one part gets broken, the whole thing comes down. So if your lead gen system from social media stops, every other result down the line cascades in a negative direction, and suddenly if your final answer is ROI, you're 40% behind where you thought you were going to be at the end of the year. But on the more positive spin, something I've heard loud and clear from everybody here this time is recognizing that not only do you have to have an earlier indicator that something's failing, because often the financial benefit of a program isn't until 18 months or something like that. So you need the indicators earlier to see if you're off plan.
Right.
But also, let's just say hypothetically we all chose to take 4 key performance indicators, and one is lead generation, and the next one's conversion rate, and the next one's value of the customer, and the last one's how many dollars you got. Just, pretty standard set. But if we all just agreed to measure precisely those 4 things for the 18 months. If you improve the first one 10%, the next one you improve, don't hold me to my math, 12%, and then 16%, and you're 25% ahead. So I think to the metrics question, best practices are just being, I think Jenny started this, being very precise at the beginning of the cycle so you can ride the wave up rather than ride the wave down.
Right. Well, that's a good lead into the next topic is, content marketing and how each of us are doing it and how that's working. Would one of you want to volunteer to get started on that?
I would, just quickly, because I just hogged the mic on the last one, but I think the most interesting thing there is just, I love the interplay where the people who are giving you the data are giving it in exchange for access and payment, and there's an economic model. So I think that the content marketing can often be about, it's so much more than just, hi, send me your name. It's product development, and it's all those incredibly powerful things. So maybe that just to start comments from others. So. Yeah,
with our customers, much like all of us in the room, want snackable content. Sorry if you've heard that buzzword. You want something that, as my fearless leader, Mark Reagan, touts, it's refrigerator journalism. People want something that they will clip out and put on that fridge. Obviously, we don't do that really anymore these days, but same idea. You want something very snackable, bite-sized, like a 30-second video that you can watch. It's a practical tip. It's something that you're going to watch for 30 seconds. You will take the 30 seconds to watch it versus, 5 minutes to watch a video. And you'll get something. You'll get value out of that. And so we really do at Reagan believe in content marketing. And so we just launched, or I hope this is public. Well, what happens in this room stays in this room, right? So we just launched, or we just finalized a contract with a sponsor who is going to do a 30-second, media tip for our customers. And so what they're doing is they're producing, they're getting in front of the camera, they're producing this 30-second video, and we're in turn able to take that and push it out to our customers. And it's a win-win. It's, we do get some money from the, the sponsorship revenue, but we're also getting snackable content to deliver to our customers. So we're really excited to launch that in early 2014.
Great. Brittany, you want to share?
I was explaining to Wayne earlier that we're not so much of a content marketing because, again, we're not from the newsletter background. However, we have been trying it out in our own little way, and we've done. We're just doing our first, free webinars and things like that, using the data and the research that we've done and pulling out portions of it to try to bring people in, generate new leads. So it's not as in the traditional sense of content marketing, so to speak, but we are starting to do that, creating some smaller, less heavy lifting research that we're then putting out to our markets and seeing how that will draw people in.
And I'd say in our businesses, we're doing a few different parts of content marketing. We're doing some that is for the traditional lead generation, where we'll do a white paper or a video, and people have to give us their contact information. But we've also had some success with some of the products we sell. Like we have some research reports. We'll give some value. We'll write an article and give some of the highlights of that research, and then try to encourage people to click for more information and to either buy that report. And at our conferences, we do the same thing. We'll do interviews with some of the keynote speakers and create articles or little videos around some of those highlights, and then at the end of that content, say if you want to meet Kim Jeffrey, he'll be at the upcoming conference. So we've done a few things like that on the content side.
I would just add to that something that I've seen discussed at some sessions and raised before, that just kind of an asterisk on the end of your comment that so much of what we're doing has become geared to sort of free content being the bottom of the funnel. I think of the Don Nicholas Makota pyramid that we've talked about several times before, and I just I just want to remind people that it doesn't have to be the bottom of the funnel, because as we've discussed elsewhere, often free content is just a placeholder for paid content. If you got somebody putting 6 search engine terms in and they hit your product that has those 6 words in it, cost is sort of not an issue anymore at that point. So being able to institutionalize, at BVR we've got a couple of sort of editors who are responsible for repurposing to create what is essentially paid white papers. But those are such good niche products that each of them sells 15 or 20,000. So if that person can do 15 of those a year, that's a good self-supporting position. And then that's essentially a lead generation program that feeds the data sales and everything. So just, it doesn't have to begin with free content when you're talking about content marketing.
That's right. And the other thing I would also mention is that content marketing, that could be a new product line or a profit center for many of us. One of our businesses, chief executive, was a traditional magazine company with advertisers, and we noticed a lot of our advertisers were cutting their print ad budget. They're developing their own content marketing strategies. We realized we're much better positioned than they are to create compelling content for the audience, and we have the distribution through our magazines, our e-newsletters, et cetera, to reach them. So with many of our clients, we've changed our relationship from being an advertising vehicle to what we call a content marketing service bureau, where we'll work with their team, and we know our market, we know what topics would be of interest to them, and we'll come up with programs, and where we'll create the content. They'll pay us for that, and then they'll pay us to promote it to our audience. So everybody in the room here, most of us come from the high quality content world, and that's another way to potentially spin it to create another revenue stream.
We're actually doing a very similar thing with our sponsors and doing the content. If they want to get involved in the content, they can, but they've come to us because they know that we can create the content for them, and we have the access to the lists, and so that's been going very well for us.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. So maybe we could just talk for a few minutes about how our product mix is changing. David, I know you have a large database business and a research business. I think you do some conferences as well. I think, Jenny, your business, I know, has evolved. Reagan, it's a lot more training and events. And so maybe you guys can just address how that has been shifting and where you see that product mix going over the next few years as well, and what it might mean for marketing.
Oh, okay. So we have noticed that our customers want instant training. So we saw this need, and we launched Reagan Training, reagantraining.com. And what we did was we established it as a membership. So it has a price point for a 1-year membership. We launched it in February 2013. So while the product launch, as many of you who have launched products know, that's just the beginning. That's not, you can celebrate a little bit when you launch that product, but after that, the real test is your renewals, right? How many people love your product enough to keep buying? And so we haven't hit the 1-year mark yet. That'll be in February 2014. But we created this product for our customers who, and this product is proving to be so far it's a $300,000 product. So we're just, now we just got to see the revenue dollars come in. So that's our big finding for this year.
I think of a lot of sort of things that many of you are doing on that area of, that's sort of evolving the product mix. And, maybe I think some of the most compelling things that I see at BVR are cases where you've sort of integrated, where the marketing, sales, and product are all becoming the same thing. And so just a simple example of that, which I don't yet know whether it'll work, but we acquired EPM, which does consumer licensing, and they had a product called Research Alert, which has been sort of fading off into the graveyard of history over the last 25 years, long trend line towards the bottom. And whether or not it'll recover, I don't know. But what we've essentially done is turn it into a database, somewhat higher priced, but then take the headline service off this journalism that Ira's collecting and turn that into the e-zine. So, suddenly the headlines are going out to 11,000 people rather than 40. And so you've got a case where it's the same content. So in answer to your specific question, that's kind of an example that the products are expected to do more. It's not just enough to sit around and be a product. You have to be carrying your own weight as far as supporting the marketing and sales component. And other examples of that where you create software to house a database, but then hopefully you can license that software to help people collect the data they need in-house and then use their data. So I think my quick answer to that would be looking for products to do 3 jobs rather than 1 job to support the goals of the organization. It's a good question, but kind of general.
Right.
And can I just add that our Reagan training consists of products that we have used as standalone products, so we're recycling them. Going along with that point, that we are able to get more dollars out of these products that we have sold as standalone products. We all who does webinars in the room? Webinars, video recordings, webcasts. Anybody? So taking those products really and extending their shelf life per se by rolling them into this membership. So just to that point, I forgot to add that.
Right. Brittany, you had alluded to the fact that Columbia used to be just a directory company, and that's a much smaller part of the business. Maybe you could describe how the product mix has evolved.
Sure, and I actually completely agree with David. What we found, I think, everybody's on a small marketing, budget, and you have to do a lot with a little. And having products that are multifunctional and can be sold into different markets for different reasons has been really important for us. I mean, I think I sort of alluded to it earlier, but having a product that you're utilizing your own database, so you're not needing to go out for that information, and then you're turning around and selling to the people that you've created the research on, and then you're subsequently having that research sponsored, and then you're turning around and creating 3 live events or webinars that you can then sell the information in a different way. So you're right, it's really not acceptable to just have a product being a product. It really has to play multiple roles and be able to spring up a whole sector of products in order to kind of pay for itself, carry its weight.
Right. You kind of hit on the fact that your company kind of leverages the database they built for the directories, and that becomes the audience that they're selling to. That's a great example, and I'd like to delve into our list building and how each of us are expanding our universes using tapping into different technologies, either LinkedIn or scraping or other technologies to build out the database. David, your company is very focused on a very specific universe. There's 6,500 or so companies I think you identified in your target. Are you getting success with technology, finding more people that are in that audience, or do you feel like you already have them all?
Well, I think there are other BVR people in this room who could answer this even better than I can, but I think Jenny was doing a session earlier and was getting grilled on questions of ROI about social media, and true, if you look at, did this order come in from a URL that was a LinkedIn address, you might kind of be embarrassed to talk about what kind of numbers you're getting. It's certainly at BVR, I'm not sure that would be much above 0. But then you have these stories where our salespeople under Lexi's directions are, as I understand it, are sort of going to LinkedIn, filling out the organizational chart a little bit better, and then when they're selling site licenses, they're saying, oh, by the way, does Sam and Pete, do you want to throw them in? A couple more bucks, they can be on too. I mean, that's an incredible return on list development from LinkedIn if that happens. So I would say the social media part of things are a very important part, even if the numbers aren't huge because the you tend to continue to struggle with talk about old school, but the old school list development techniques, especially now that you can put them in the new technology and watch exactly what they do. Frequently they sputter like wet fireworks on the 4th of July. They don't do anything anywhere. So I'm not sure I think I answered your question in spirit. If not,
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess you're using social media to help expand your universe.
BVR has a total of 7 new names that we've developed in the last 24 months, and all.
We don't have to get into the specifics. We're talking strategic.
All 9 of us here have had dinner with all 7 of those people 4 times. They all now weigh over 450 pounds.
That sounds like our Twitter program in terms of ROI.
Oh, do you want me to add to that?
No.
If you have anything to add, but if not, we can move on to the next topic.
I'll set this one out.
Okay. Brittany, you're Columbia. You guys are the database experts, right? With building lists. What have you learned from that process in your company that some of us might learn about how to identify people in a target market?
Well, I can more speak to working with research teams. I don't know how many of you do people contract out their research for in-house database building? No. Okay, no one. Well, we do. So what we've learned is that you can create a lot of really great lists if you have the right research team and they've been trained properly, or it can be very bad and then you've just wasted a lot of money. So, our editorial director does run that department, but I've kind of witnessed that go really wrong and go really well. So just if you do decide to outsource that project of building a database for your customers, make sure that you really are screening that team that you're hiring.
Brittany, do you have any metrics?
Yeah, so our in-house editorial staff screens pretty early on, and now we do that. We didn't do that. We had a project where I don't think anybody was, the data was coming in and it wasn't getting looked at as hard as it should have been, and superficially sometimes it can appear that everything is coming in and nice and clean, but when you do a deeper dive, you discover some issues. So my biggest suggestion would be to just screen early. So, be looking at those, those work packets coming in, which is what they call them, when they send over the data to you. And then don't stop looking at them either, because that can happen. You think, oh, they're doing such a great job, everything's coming in clean, and then, in a few months, if you haven't kept an eye on it, those products can kind of slump. So you just need to be careful. But we've had a lot of success with that, and again, we're pretty spoiled because our business was creating directories and databases of our customers, so we're a little spoiled in that sense.
Right. And when the outsourcing, is that typically offshoring to low-cost places like the Philippines or India?
We work with an Indian operation. I was talking to someone earlier, and I can't remember who it was, but what I was pointing out to them is our former VP of operations was Indian, and he had a very good relationship with some firms over there, and I think that made a difference. So their team flies to see us a lot, and we send our lead editorial staff over there. So it's a little bit of, it's not an over-the-phone relationship necessarily, and if you can get yourself into a situation where it's not just like they're just your vendor, you're going to get a lot better response, better quality. But again, you really have to vet your vendors because everyone out there is scraping data off the internet. It's just some people are doing a better job than others.
Great. Well, we have more questions, but I wanted to make sure we got to any questions in the audience. And I know Adam, you and Bob had a few questions for us, and other people in the audience might as well. So why don't we open it up to any questions you guys have? Yeah. Brittany wants to go last.
I want to go last.
That's a hard one, so maybe we'll have Dave start with that one.
I've had trouble finding love. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying. I guess I'll start with the success. I think and I go back. I'm sorry to go back a little bit, but I also think this is because I've learned how to do this with this group. I think of conversations with many people in this room. I think the biggest success is the organizational change to support, to maximize these opportunities in a nimble way, and to have the structure to institutionalize them so it doesn't become, like, here's one weird book, we'll throw that over to that editor who's in the back corner, where it's like, oh, this is a product line. I can turn this into a $700,000 product line managed by one person or something. So I think the organizational capability development to respond to the complexity we're all in now, and to do that in a way that's positive, that I think is the biggest success. Adam, you and I have had this discussion, but I would just say this again to everyone here. We talked about it earlier. We're no longer in the environment where you tend to get home runs anymore. We used to get home runs back in the day, so you get this ego reinforcement. Sorry for repeating this. And you do hear about some home runs. The Kiplinger launch they had this last year, that was a pretty good launch. That was like in the old days. And Brian, some of the things, Brian Crotty's, I see you over there. You've had some pretty good successes. A lot of us have. But lacking that kind of ego reinforcement of, oh my God, I'm wonderful and I'm brilliant and I'm a great marketer and I'm a good publisher. It's knowing that you're doing a solid job of executing. So that's a success. I think probably the worst problem is trying to assume that you could take what you learned in a market you know well and move into the market next to it. So my efforts to get into the private equity market have been difficult. We've struggled a little bit with the EPM acquisition. So I would say it's overestimating the beauty of the green grass on the other side of the fence is chronically where problems come up. So, but I'd probably go on longer. But I was trying to cover for. Good. Then there's the love issue.
So our failure and success, I would say, are both in our new product, Reagan Training. Failure because in the beginning, this was my first big product launch, and so I didn't realize just how important it is to get everybody on board from the beginning. We at Reagan Communications, we have 40 full-time staffers, so we are not a meetings company. We don't really believe in meetings. We believe in let's hang out in the kitchen and throw some ideas around and brainstorm, but we're not a big corporate meeting company. So the thought of getting everyone in a room and hashing out all these ideas for 4+ hours just wasn't in the cards in the beginning. And so we started this project and we started designing the website, and we just had to take a major step back and realize that we all needed to be on the same page from the very beginning so we could all move forward together versus this, tech moving forward in a different direction, marketing's moving forward in a different direction because we were all scattered. And so I'd say, that product launch was our failure, but a learning moment, and then our success.
Brittany?
So I'm not willing to say that it's a failure yet, but a big struggle that we've been having is, figuring out how to integrate sales in a way that makes sense with marketing. And then we're on our first year with a CRM, so that's difficult, especially because you're spending a lot of money and you want to be really appropriately utilizing it. And I think sometimes what happens is you get the CRM or you get Eloqua or what to do your analysis, but then you're not really building out the programs. And so it's a struggle to really make sure that you're making time for those things and implementing those programs properly, because otherwise you're just paying for an overly expensive service. So that's been a struggle, and figuring out how to create that integration through the CRM with your sales and marketing team. It's getting better, but it's been very difficult. And I think our biggest success is this new sponsorship model that we've come up with. I mentioned this earlier in the day as well. We've had a tremendous renewal rate for our very high value, high dollar sponsors. And the reason I think that's happening is because we've really created customized programs for them. So, they're sponsoring events where the level of the content and information covered in the event is very high level, and then they get to be affiliated with that. We're doing the sponsored newsletters, like I mentioned, and we're doing a lot of research that then they're putting their name on. So if a sponsor comes to us and says, we want to, research this area, if we can do it, we'll do it for them. And I think they're beginning to, they don't want to just put their logo on things anymore. They're really beginning to expect a higher level of service and customization on the sponsorship level, and they'll pay a lot for it if you really get custom with them. It's so that's been a big success for us.
Great. I'd say our biggest failure of the last year has been we made a big investment in one of our businesses in marketing automation, Salesforce, the whole stream, and put a lot of effort in our marketing team. These things can take on a life of their own, as I think you mentioned, Brittany. And we had to start with a good database of 250,000. Well, I wouldn't say good database. We started with a database of 250,000 contacts, and our people started doing scoring of how these people were interacting with our different things. And a lot of activity went into that, and then developing marketing leads that they sent onto the Salesforce. And then we had appointment setters who were setting up the calls for the sales team. And but the model, it was just not, we were not getting great productivity out of the sales team. And we just about 2 months ago realized we started getting some better metrics and realized that we had two of our salespeople were lone wolves who were not using this full expensive process we had built on one side, where we probably had 15 people working on the content and the marketing, et cetera, to get this thing through, and appointment setters and managers. But we had two guys, sales guys, who were just calling people that they wanted to call. And the conversion rate was almost exactly the same. And we realized we're spending all this time, all this money, all this effort on this nurturing part. And so it made us take a step back and realize there were two little parts. I kind of alluded to it at the beginning. Like if you have a 27-step process, you have one broken link, the whole thing doesn't work. So we had a broken link at the beginning, that the database, we had never really made the investment to look at it over the last 3 years. And a lot of this database was tired, and we had burned out with webinars. So they weren't opening up our emails anymore. And so we now have an effort to build fresh names on that side and changing a URL so we could start all over with some of them. And then on the other side, really going beyond just scoring what people are interacting with, but really nurturing them and developing additional content to really warm some of them up and doing a better job of giving better leads to the sales team. So that was a big learning moment. We're in the process of fixing it, but that's still underway. I'd say the one area of success we've been having in our different businesses, some of our markets, some products are just really hard, like newsletters, even when they're online. Membership sites are still, their renewal rates on those are not as good as some other products. So we have a web-based training solution, which includes software. That is a very sticky product, and that's renewing well. Our events are doing well, and our research products are doing well. So those parts of the product mix seem like we're not fighting against gravitational forces in some of those other products that we do in some of our traditional subscription-based content businesses, even though we've repackaged them as web-based, but they're still more of a challenge. So I think we're almost out of time. We probably have time. Is there time for one more question, or should we wrap up?
You've got one more question, but it's close.
Okay. Small question, an easy one, not a hard one like that.
Fight it out, arm wrestle.
So what's your wild, crazy goal for 2014?
I was going to give you an easier one. Where's the reception?
Exactly. Well, this is, do you want me to try to pick up the slack on that
Wanna
one?
do a quick-
yeah.
quick,
I do an association reference there. SIPA's merged into SIAA, and I don't think the leverage of that is being fully recognized yet, but I think it is going to expose us to the group of entrepreneurs in our business who are expecting 40% returns. And so I think, I think SIA is going to be part of teaching us all to keep kind of a high energy going forward. So I know it's not a very specific answer, but I really feel like the sort of fantasy I have of 2014 is that it's a year of great acceleration for all of us, and not because of the economy, because God knows what that's doing, but because we're getting smarter at this. So, and to be able to share that with long-term friends and other people who I respect a lot is gorgeous. So, not a very good publishing answer, but I really just think this is going to be a year of acceleration, and I look forward to sharing that with people. And that kind of ties into Ed's comment, oh, where's the reception?
We're all going to find love.
Yeah, yeah.
In 2014, in terms of marketing for Reagan Communications, Mark, part of the reason I got the job at Reagan was because I have a journalism background. And Mark said, she knows how to write. I can teach her how to write marketing copy. I didn't have a ton of marketing experience before I came over to Reagan. So he is all about, Mark Reagan is a former reporter himself. So he's all about the journalist, training the journalist to be a marketer. Now, in 2014, we're going to be looking at, who can be a marketer and who can look at analytics. I'm sorry, I'm beating analytics over the head, but we really are focusing on that. So 2014 is going to be about the reporter who can do analytics, or an analytics reporter, an anaporter. I guess you can, merge those two. Sorry? Reportalytics. I like that buzzword. So that's what we're looking for in 2014.
I'll just be very quick. Just continuing to just deliver really highly customized products and not resting on our laurels and just thinking we can sell the same thing, because that never seems to work. So just continuing to be really customized.
Right, and I'd say for us, it's just continuing to learn and continuing to get better at what we do. And we have, there's a lot of great technology out there, but we're really leveraging it and harnessing it for revenue and profitability, and not letting us get sidetracked by what's interesting or cool, but we're really, getting closer to our market, segmenting solutions, and executing better. So that's our goal. So with that, I think it's time for the break and cocktails. Thanks.